on camera I don't always like bring out the bird food or anything. I love feeding the birds. I can hear like heavier rain coming. All these multicolored tents. Often from a distance it can look so, you know, white, like white tents, but for the craft fair people have cream tents, gray tents, very white tents, mixed tents, this tents, that tents. I forget which show where most people have the same white tent, but some tents have points, some tents have domes, arches. It's a mix this year, so it looks like bed sheets all over the place, you know. A guy kind of lighting up a doobie, but it looked like a big gigantic roll of newspaper. So you kind of wonder like how far. I'm sure he's fine, you know. And Philly has these trees in Rittenhouse Square, but we don't have a lot of wind right now. Although at times we've had odd wind events, as they're calling them now. But like here, they really just say gusts of wind. They haven't gotten to the event stage. Ish, but one wrong, you know, flick, and I guess, right, they would pay for fire retardant to put on all the trees, just to make sure no one could do that if they felt inclined to do so. I'm doing like a Christian Dior catwalk from Walking on Thin Ice. In the game of life, throwing the dice in the air. So a couple years ago, I saw a Christian Dior catwalk show, if you will, pop up on YouTube. They buy ads on YouTube, or they show like, you know, our fall show is out or what have you. So I decided to watch it, and I was like, you know, I couldn't believe how good I fell in love with Christian Dior right away. And you know, I can't really buy those clothes necessarily unless they would show up at a thrift shop. Oops, somebody stumbled on the cling clang clock. The Episcopals maybe aren't thrilled with the Pope. No one's perfect. No one has a heart of gold, as they say. So I may have to pull out my umbrella. Oh, there's a note or something that went haywire. Aren't they? They're Trinity's Episcopal. Hey, Episcopal's like the one step away from perfect Catholicism, because Henry VIII created it because he wanted to get a divorce, and in order to make it legit in the eyes of God or what have you in religion, he had to create a new denomination of Christianity, I guess. I don't know how it works, but that's the old story. Not too bad this second. It's almost like little spurts of rain are coming through. So for a second it was like, oh, it's gonna kick up. I better put the umbrella up and pull it out and put it up. That's what she said, you know. But then it's kind of stopped. So there's someone here who is, if he were to mock a good friend of mine, he would be, or mimic or imitate. It could look like a friend of mine who happens to be named like Walt or whatever, Walter. I know Walter well enough to know that this isn't perfect, but it's pretty darn close. The baldish guy up here, like mostly bald, but with a little bit of hair, beard, the perfect glasses, that are more artistic in nature, and the tilt of the head and the neighborhood walk. So, like no one's business. That's right. But I rarely run into him. He moved to a different part of the city. Anyway. But pretty good with the, I know it's not him because but, right, wow, yep, not him at all. It's not him. Right, they could be like almost twins, but definitely from the same bear group. This is so bears. It's so funny because a long time ago, I stayed in a hotel for a writers conference in New Orleans. Saints and Sinners it was called way back then. I desperately wanted to do something that might up my game as a writer, if you will. And I stayed at like Olive Inn or Mount or Olive something. And the guys who ran the hotel, a couple who met in San Francisco. And he was saying, that he finally found his people, if you will, at a bear, I don't know, a bear community. So the bear community would be more, slightly heavier set, gay male, if you will, with beards. That's typically the idea of a bear. And he's like, all these years I thought I had to be a certain type of person to attract love, if you will. But there, people loved him for who he was, regardless. He didn't have to look like a model off the runway. He didn't have to be, they happened to have money is the thing, but he didn't have to be, obviously they owned bed and breakfast. He, nonetheless, I guess he thought he would have a hard time finding love in general based on a couple things. Military might have been in his past, but it didn't if you met him, you wouldn't guess that right off the bat. But anyway, he found a bear to love a bear in San Francisco. So, true love story. I think they're still together, I guess. No one passed away, hopefully. It's been a long time. I was there in 2007, 6 or 7. Anyway, it's not raining now.